Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Chris with M7 Metalworks. This is part 3 of 3 for the Delta Milwaukee Crescent bandsaw. So let's get right to it. If you haven't watched the first one, I'll put a link in your right hand corner, and if you need to, watch that first.
He's an idiot.
Yep. Booyah! For a second time. Okay guys, it's time for the big reveal. I've got this bandsaw completed for the most part. There are several things I still need to do, but they're pretty minor things. I've got the fence that I need to work on. I've got the fence guides put in place now, and you see me kind of sanding on those and polishing those up. with the belt sander. So we're going to go around the bandsaw now, and I'll just show you some of the details and stuff. It's pretty much been rebuilt from the ground up. I have new bearings everywhere. I did use the original Delta motor, which is a 1-horse 3-phase motor. So I do use a VFD to control it. The bandsaw cuts beautifully. I cut just a little bit of wood here, and I'll do a little demonstration here for you in a minute. But there's a few things I want to point out as I go around the saw. Plus there's a few things on the 3-phase that you need to know about when running a 3-phase motor with a VFD. There's something that I had a little bit of issue with, and I want to maybe help you resolve that, because I was ready to swap out the motor until I figured it out. So we'll go through that right now, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this restoration project. Okay guys, so here's the bandsaw tour. First of all, this is a Delta Milwaukee Crescent bandsaw. I took the liberty of cleaning some of these tags, and I made a few chips, which I'll come back with some touch-up paint. I got a few chips in some other places as I put her back together. I chipped it in a few places. I went ahead and cleaned up the tags. I've got a little piece of rubber mat underneath that I just roughly cut. I'll clean that up a little bit later. So everything was essentially here. It was in parts. The switch, really, for the most part, the switch is not something that I had to have. I needed to run the wire, and so I went ahead and run it. This switch is essentially an emergency shutoff. So if I'm running the saw and I need to shut it off from here, I can shut it off. Other than that, I leave it on all the time because I really control it with that VFD right there. And I'll show you that here in a little bit. So let's just give you a little tour around the rail. Came out pretty darn nice. Considering the condition that thing was in, it was terrible. The table, not so good. I mean, the table's not in great condition. I'm probably going to eventually put the welder on that and just TIG weld that up and grind that smooth. That's the only major flaw in it. The rest is just it had some pitting and what have you. I've cleaned it up, and I'll put a little wax on it and that kind of thing as well. So all the bearings, there's 2 bearings in this one that I had to replace. Very important right here, guys. You cannot knock this shaft out. It's tapered, so it makes you think, oh, I can just punch this shaft out and going the other direction because it's wider on the other direction. You have to take this nut out off of here, and then you can punch it out, because that'll pull, that bearing will come out. That bearing is seated in there, and so if you try to do that, you're going to wreck that. I use these belts, link belts, and they do definitely seem to have smoothed it out, although they're ridiculously expensive. Put a new bushing in right here. I did have to modify one I currently had because I couldn't find one that matched, although I'm sure they're out there. The guides right now, I have steel in these guides, and this looks to be some kind of a homemade job. It wasn't done particularly well, but I went ahead and cleaned it up, and I cleaned up these steel. I'm going to make some wood ones, I think, as well. All of the bare metal has been heated, and I linseed oil soaked it, so that's just to preserve it a little bit. Headstock has got bearings on both ends, so replace those. Replace these bearings, and then of course replace the bearings on the guides, lower and top, and then of course replace the bearings in the motor as well. And the motor runs real nice. Everything, to be honest, runs as new. I did put new bandsaw tires. So these are from a company called Blue Max. Now I did get another company. They were a blue urethane tire, but they were shiny. So I don't know how well this comes up on the camera, But these aren't shiny. These are kind of a matte finish. And the previous ones that I purchased were real shiny. And the problem with them is they did not conform to the crown of my tire. So anyways, these are outstanding. They conformed really well. A little bit harder to put on than the shiny ones, but again, the shiny ones didn't conform. Wasn't functioning right. There was something definitely wrong. I didn't have the power that I should have. The VFD was struggling to get it going. And I did a little bit of reading in the manual and found out that if it's a heavy inertia type piece of equipment, so it's driving something that's got some inertia or weight, in this case these big bandsaw wheels, 20-inch wheels, the motor, a 1-horse motor, is not going to get these things up to speed in 1.5 seconds. So it recommended 10 to 20 seconds on these. So I put it right in the middle. I've got it at 15 seconds or thereabout 15 seconds. So when I flip the switch, you're going to see that it'll ramp up over the course of 15 seconds to full speed. And by doing that, now the VFD has no problems at all. It's got plenty of power, that kind of thing. So we'll turn her on now. If you can't tell, it is super, super quiet. I mean, super quiet. I'm talking normal, and this thing is just whisper quiet almost. So, pretty amazing. That thing is awesome. It just cuts like butter, man. Normally I'd bring my guide down a little bit, but I'm not going to worry about it at this point. Now this is like cedar that I'm cutting, so it's obviously pretty soft wood anyways. This piece of oak, let's see how, actually I'm going to cut it this way. Guys, it cuts pretty awesome. The saw is amazing. I'm gonna shut down this video now and let my wife do a little cutting with it because she's never used a bandsaw either. So guys, thanks for watching. I'm Chris with M7 Metalworks. I'll see you on the next video.